By the way, did you know how immigration affects Pennsylvania? When you bring in all of these folks that are here illegally, then we can't take care of our vulnerable populations.
Correct.
We can't put more money into education. We can't do the things that we need to do because we're providing services.
Right.
Welcome back to By the Way, Did You Know? And this week with me, I have my good friend Mike Cabell, Representative Mike Cabell from Luzerne County, here to talk about something that has actually been in the news, but I thought it's important to get a little background on why we're doing what we're doing and why the House Republicans have been pushing the governor of Pennsylvania, Governor Shapiro, to take an interest in what's happening at our southern border. Those of you that have been following the news know that Governor Abbott in Texas issued a kind of a proclamation last week talking about how they are going to take this border crisis in their own hands. The federal government has really dropped the ball on protecting our southern border, and because of that, the governor of Texas, Governor Abbott, has basically invoked a provision under the Constitution to basically defend its border, defend this endless flow of illegal immigration coming into our country. And with me today, I have Representative Cabell, who's kind of called on the governor. We put out a letter yesterday, and also a concurrent resolution with the House or the Senate Republicans to get the attention of the governor, the Attorney General, and the federal government to take care of our southern border. So, Mike, thanks for joining me. Thanks for doing what you're doing and bringing attention to this issue. Tell me a little bit about what you're up to try to address this border crisis.
Sure. Thanks, Torren. So the immigration issue is an American issue. Of course, the border states are dealing with it more than us in Pennsylvania, but it affects communities all across America, including the greater Hazleton area, which is dealing with it at the moment, and all throughout the major cities in Pennsylvania, across the country. If you're paying attention at all in the news, you're going to see it all over. I mean, you're going to see what's happening in Denver. You're going to see what's happening in California and again in Philadelphia and others. So my intention with this was to, again, like you said, get the attention of the federal government and also offer our support to Texas, who is dealing with this. I can't imagine what those border towns and cities are dealing with, just the normal, ordinary citizen is dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So what we did is, as you said, we wrote a letter to the governor. I think we had over 40 members of our party sign that letter, went to the governor and to the Attorney General, urging support. It's ultimately up to them. They're the executive branch of the government. It's up to them to offer some level of support. But you know, we have the opportunity to just bring it to their attention and say, hey, I'm hearing from this. I'm hearing about this in my district. I don't know if you are in your district, Ron. I'm sure you are too.
Absolutely.
And it's hard for us as state legislators. We don't have many levers we could pull on this issue. You know what I mean? So a lot of times it is up to us that, you know, people are not paying attention to this stuff as much as we are as far as governance of this stuff is concerned. So a lot of times we have to explain, like, hey, you know, we don't go to Washington, D.C. to really make any sort of actual mark on this, but I just wanted to do something for my constituents who are angry about this, quite frankly, and scared. So I just tried to get creative and try to do something so that the voices of the folks at the 117th District in Luzerne County, they have their voices heard. So that was really my intention here. I'm excited about the response that I've gotten, you know, the support from my colleagues, and I had a teletown hall the other day in district, and a lot of the calls were people calling me to thank me for standing up for it. So again, it was really just to bring attention to the entire issue.
Yeah, and you know, critics out there will say, well, why does Pennsylvania care about the border? I can tell you this anecdotally. Congressman Joyce, who represents part of my district in Adams County, he went to the border a number of years ago, and when he got there, DEA agents said, hey, where's the guy from South Central Pennsylvania? Well, he's like, it's me. They had him go over, and they had this huge table, folding table, full of fentanyl, drugs, and they said, all of this here, this is coming from the Texas border, all of this here was meant to come
Correct.
To South Central Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And they were able to track that. They knew that for a fact.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what they caught, by the way.
Yeah, and exactly. So to say this issue, and this all came across our southern border.
Sure.
And it's not just the illegal immigration; it's the trafficking
Yep.
of not only drugs but of human
Children.
trafficking,
Yep.
children. This is real. This is happening. So to sit here and do nothing, and not, even though we don't have a lot of tools in the toolbox, it's something that our constituents, both you and I constituents, have reached out to and said, do something.
Yep.
So
Yep.
the only thing we can do is call on the people that can do something.
Correct. It's a national security issue.
And make it a public issue.
Yeah, it's a national security issue. Strong borders is the sovereign right, and really, I mean, any citizen has that right to force, put pressure on the government to enforce our borders. And every other country does the same. The Vatican has borders. I mean, any sovereign nation has a border, and part of being a strong nation is having strong borders. And I am for legal immigration. We need
Absolutely.
a really good system of legal, and that, by the way, it needs to be reformed. I mean, we need to get folks in here that have high education degrees. We need, in my area, if I had a doctor coming from anywhere to go into, say, Shikshini, a little borough in my, we'll take doctors from anywhere. So legal immigration is a good thing. It's the illegal immigration. You hit on it. It's the drugs. It's the human trafficking. God forbid, children. We know it's happening.
Yeah.
So it's terrifying. So I mean, really, and going back to where it hits locally, I was recently with my school board, one of the school boards that I represent, Hazleton Area School District, and they just do not have enough buildings, faculty, or anything. And it's a lot of these kids are coming in illegally, but we need to enroll them. It's their right to have an education, even if they don't have identification. So at this point, I am feeling strain every single day in our area. So like you said, it would be irresponsible of me as a representative of 64,000 people in Luzerne County to not try and do something. And I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to note that there's various counties within the Commonwealth that have designated themselves as sanctuary cities. So obviously, meaning that these folks that are come here illegally can go to these counties,
Yep.
and there's no concern for them to worry about being interrogated by ICE or anything like that.
Sure.
So of course they're going to come here.
Yep.
They're going to come here. And we need to be mindful of that. I mean, you hear the governors of Illinois and Denver, pleading to, hey, please don't send,
New York City,
yeah,
Mayor
don't
Adams.
send illegal immigrants here.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, this is what Texas is dealing on daily. So this is absolutely
Correct.
a nationwide issue, and
Yep.
to say that we shouldn't be in this fight is ridiculous.
So New York City, Mayor Adams, I think it's Mayor Adams, correct? New York
Yeah.
City. So I just saw recently, this is staggering. So he's been all over the news, and I think he's doing a pretty good job because he's been left with this. He didn't make that decision to make them a sanctuary city, and they're putting them up in hotels. And I believe the number that I saw yesterday was somewhere in the neighborhood of $360 per night per individual that they have to pay in order to house these folks. I mean, that's not sustainable. Even for a city like New York City, that I'm sure they're doing okay financially based on the businesses and everything that are in that city. That's not sustainable. So and by the way, we're my county's 2 hours away from New York City. So and we've had another resolution I recently put through. Was introduced was a resolution on ghost flights. That was an issue a couple years ago. There was more of them potentially happening in the state up in Avoca. We just saw one that was diverted from New York City to Philadelphia right before Christmas. That's another issue, and it's again. We don't have many levers we could pull, but we do have this bully pulpit that we could stand up and say, listen to the federal government, you have to take this seriously. You have all these folks in the General Assembly trying to point to this. Please take this seriously and let us know what you're going to do about it, because the people that we have to face every single day, it is affecting them on a day-to-day basis. Don't get it twisted. It certainly is a problem.
And make no mistake, we have to pass a $40+ billion budget every year to fund Pennsylvania citizens, the Commonwealth.
Yep.
And when you bring in all of these folks that are here illegally, then we can't take care of our vulnerable populations.
Correct.
We can't put more money into education. We can't do the things that we need to do because we're providing services
Right.
for those individuals that didn't come here legally.
Property taxes. What do we hear about every day, Torren?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The strain on our seniors, and it's like, well, if this continues, where do you think that's headed? Because we need to take care of these folks. A lot of them need medical care. You know what I mean? It's schooling, obviously. So we're this issue is here to stay, and if we don't do something about it soon, our generations, our children, Torren, are going to be the ones that are really going to have to deal with it. It's going to be a serious problem.
Yeah, and you alluded to, there is legal immigration. It's
Yep.
used all the time, and there's a process, and it absolutely needs reformed. I know in my district, there's a huge community of H-2A workers that come
Sure.
here
Yeah,
to work
same.
in the growing community,
Yep.
for the growers and the orchard community. They come here legally. They
Great
go through
program.
they go through the process. Those growers have to pay a lot of fees to get them here. I mean, it's a process. So we need to make sure that we're protecting the systems in place.
Sure.
And not encouraging more illegal
It's a good point. I mean, it seems so simple, but it's just, hey, follow the law. The law is there, and by the way, going back to the Texas issue, the law is in place. What everybody needs to realize is we are urging the federal government to enforce a law that is in place. We're not asking for new laws here. Enforce our border, enforce our laws. Simple, very simple, and we're just trying to get the attention of Governor Shapiro and AG Henry to offer their support. There's 25 states, I believe, that have offered support. This isn't something out of the ordinary. Let's get on board. Let's offer support. Let's be there to help. If they need folks to go down there and help secure the border, let's send them. Let's do whatever we can do to help, because again, it's just law and order. It's a very simple thing. I don't think we're asking for much.
So Mike, let's get into the letter just a little bit. So what did you call on the governor to do? What did you call on AG Henry to do?
So I called on him to reach out to Governor Abbott and offer support, and that again, we don't really have the tools in our tool belt to say exactly what the governor should do. I have faith that the governor, if he's motivated to do this, he's going to do the right thing and actually reach out and offer support. So I think this might get his attention and hopefully have him realize how important this is to Pennsylvanians. So it's to have him reach out, offer support, state publicly that we support this, just like the 25 states did, and potentially, getting into the weeds a little bit, but as far as sending any sort of National Guard or anything as far as support, I would love to see that if we're able to. But it's really getting him to open a dialogue, most importantly, and acknowledge that there is a problem here, and calling Governor Abbott and saying, and just being pragmatic, have a discussion with Governor Abbott. I don't know if he has already. I hope he has. If not, I think it should happen.
Yeah, and obviously we continuing to put pressure. It's election year, but we need to continue to put pressure on the Biden administration and the federal government to do their part and to make sure that they are doing what they should do at the federal level. And I think if more governors get involved, more states put that pressure on the federal government, hopefully the federal government can do something about actually securing our border and caring about, giving support to those agents that are on the border trying to solve this problem. I mean, let's not forget those guys and gals that are
put their lives on the line.
Literally, trying to save, trying to protect our border, giving them the resources they need. And I know, our congressmen are fighting that fight, but we need to get everybody to actually make some change in D.C. as well.
Yeah, and I challenge everyone to have their voices heard. I definitely hear about it every single day. So reach out to your congressman, reach out to your state reps, reach out to your senators, reach out to the governor. It's an issue that affects every single person in this country. So, and a lot of times, if these folks, these elected officials, I know we do, if we hear from our constituents, a lot of times it gets us, motivated to really be effective. So, I do urge people to reach out and have their voices heard.
Absolutely, I say all the time, we can't advocate for someone if we don't know what to advocate for, and this is one of those issues that, although we don't have the exact, you can't pull exactly the strings, we can certainly lend our support, our voice, and urge some help on this issue and continue to make this border issue a problem to go away.
Correct.
And make it go away. So, Mike, I really appreciate you being here. Thanks for your work on this. Hopefully, the governor responds and we see some movement on the issue and hopefully improve our border. It's just we can't keep the status quo here. We have got to change how we're defending our southern border, and people need to understand this affects us here in Pennsylvania. It affects us in Adams County. It affects us in Luzerne County.
Correct.
And to do nothing is simply not an option.
Yeah, we're going to keep fighting, and thank you for allowing me to come on here and talk. Maybe we could come back in a couple weeks and give an update, see where we're at on all this stuff. So I appreciate your time, and thank you for bringing attention to this matter.
This has been, by the way, Did You Know? Tune in for all of my podcasts at repecker.com/mypodcast.